You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
Join us now for the expert source for inside information on the options markets. It's time for Options Insider Radio with your host, Mark Longo.
All right, everybody. That music means it's time once again for Options Insider Radio, the interview program here on the old network where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of options and derivatives and proceed to pick their brains for the benefit of you, the listener. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting, at least we hope so, Options Insider Radio Network. You guys know the drill by now. You can, of course, go deep into the archives, the website, or our mobile app, the best place to do that. If you want to just subscribe, have it delivered to your device of choice in iTunes, Google Podcasts, all that fun stuff. Or, of course, if you want to join us live, like you can right now, Mixlr.com is the place for that. Of course, however you listen live after the fact, make sure you hit us up. Questions, comments, insights, pearls of wisdom. We do indeed like to hear from you guys. And joining me today on the old interview program is a newcomer to the network. He is Eric Gravengaard, the CEO over there at Athena Bitcoin. Eric, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. Happy to be here today.
And Eric, since this is your first time on the network, why don't we go ahead and start, as we do with all of our first timers, give us a little bit of an overview of your background in the financial markets and how you found your way over there to Athena Bitcoin.
Yeah, sure. So I started my financial career working with Blair Hall at his family office.
Never heard of him. I'm sorry. Who are you talking about?
Blair was in the habit of hiring a lot of people back in the early 2000s and hired me. Worked for him for a while, learned electronic trading, learned quantitative trading from him. Then moved over to spot trading, also in the same neighborhood. And ran their quant team for a while before making the very long trip down to the fourth floor of 440 South to work for Chicago Trading Company, where I was there for a number of years, trading all kinds of things, especially in the index. So long trading background. And then in 2013, decided that I was going to be done working for CTC. Gave me a non-compete, which was very generous of them, so I couldn't work for the whole summer. On day 3 of that, my wife was like, Eric, you're out of here. You've got to get out of here. You can't stay at the house.
3 days, that's all it took.
3 days. She was like, you're confusing the children. And I was like, Liza, our oldest is like 2.5. She's not confused at all. She thinks it's great. We've gone to the zoo like twice. My wife was like, no, you're out of here. So I had to get a chair somewhere else. So I rented a desk at a co-working space here in Chicago. And the guy sitting next to me was talking Bitcoin into his cell phone all day long. And I was like, what is this fake internet currency? I don't know what this is. But I had to buy it. So I bought $2,000 of Bitcoin that summer and started trading it, started figuring out what it was good for. And that turned into a Bitcoin ATM company. So Athena got its start 3 years ago, selling Bitcoin using ATMs. So a Bitcoin ATM looks a lot like a traditional ATM, except you put money in and Bitcoin come out. So we have a network of probably 65 or 70 in the United States. We're expanding in Latin America, where we have a presence in Colombia, Argentina, and Mexico. And that's Athena.
That's a long progress from options upstairs trader and market maker over to Bitcoin ATMs. Before we get into the ATMs, let's just start with kind of the mindset shift, because you're not alone. I know quite a few guys who have gone these days, made the leap from options market maker into Bitcoin, and it's a and other crypto assets, obviously. And it's a very big, mindset shift. You're going from options, which have skew and which have all these other components, volatility, and now you're going to effectively a Delta One product. There really aren't any crypto options that trade liquidly anyway. And so it's a very different beast. So maybe walk us through that first. What was that mindset like, or that shift like, going from the world of options and all the inherent variables and risks and interesting things in the world of options going now into effectively the Delta One world of crypto?
No, you're exactly right, Mark. So when I was at, Chicago Trading Company, we're thinking about all kinds of products. Are we trading 500,000 different products, throughout the entire book? And what are our aggregate risks and all that? And all of a sudden we're trading one product. I mean, Bitcoin is monolithic. There's only one product. There's not, risk factors that you have to consider, other than it goes up and down. But it goes up and down a lot, and historically the spreads have been really wide. So where the spread in back month Vega was fairly wide in the SPX market, here we're talking about an underlying product where the spread was really wide. For much of my career, I've been squeezing pennies out of the SPX, and now all of a sudden I'm picking up whole dollars when Bitcoin was trading $100. It was a 1% spread. That was not, it was unheard of in any other product I've ever traded. So that was like obviously immediately, interesting to me as a trader, where I can walk into a market, have no expertise in the underlying product, and all of a sudden I'm picking up 1% spreads for, what I thought of as like very little risk. Now, obviously, there's a lot of risk in Bitcoin. It's certainly gone up 200%, only to fall back, take a 50% or 60% cut several times since I've gotten in. So Bitcoin's not without its risks, but it's certainly a much more exciting product, than watching the SPX slowly climb for the last few years, or anything else that's incredibly correlated with the overall market.
You're not the first person to say that to me, and it has been interesting to watch this surprising shift. You guys have kind of been part of it over there at Athena, where the trading community here in Chicago has kind of been waiting for the next big thing for a long time. I'm not sure if crypto is it, but certainly a lot of people seem to think that it might be. There's been a lot of guys who have left the trading floor or whatever it might be for all the reasons you described. Markets had kind of been squeezed to death. They were pennied to death. They were being taxed to death. The cost of connectivity and of risk and everything else that went into trading, it was just onerous. In fact, I even had Blair Hull on this network not too long ago, and I asked him, I said, would you ever think about getting back into options market making again? He said, oh God, no. Why would I do that? The initial startups, his estimate was around 20 million just to kind of get the ball rolling, into risk, connectivity, all these things. And to him, that wasn't even worth it, let alone to a small prop shop or an individual trader. It just doesn't make sense. So a lot of these guys have been waiting, what's the next product, the next thing, and all of a sudden this crypto thing, in many ways, kind of like you described, literally falls into people's laps. I've heard many different stories of how they actually discovered or came upon it. Yours is interesting as well. And they slowly kind of start to discover, and it has been interesting to watch. This thing started, as you're right, this kind of crypto anarchist kind of movement to kind of create their own currency away from the prying eyes of government. And in the last few years, it seems like the crypto mecca has really shifted. At least from a trading and execution perspective, it is now very firmly here in Chicago. We see a lot of big groups developing a lot of expertise in it, a lot of former market makers that have been floating around the city for a while, waiting for the next big thing to come along, have jumped into it. And I've heard many stories of how this is just like market making back in the old days of options, when it was the Wild West and things were super wide and there was no regulation. And so they actually have a lot of experience with this sort of thing. So is that kind of your take as well? You think this could be the next big thing for the kind of Chicago trading risk management community that's kind of been a little listless for the better part of the last half decade or so, looking for the next thing? Sounds like you guys at Athena think this is it.
No, I think that's absolutely true. I think that Bitcoin and really crypto in general needs a center of liquidity, and Chicago's always been the source of that liquidity. Whether that's the center of the universe for SPX or index risk is Chicago. Commodities markets, the hub has always been Chicago, and I think crypto, it's absolutely becoming the case with almost every prop trading firm in Chicago having a crypto desk ready and willing to make a market in Ethereum or Litecoin or Monero or Bitcoin. So I think Chicago's absolutely primed to become the center of liquidity, especially as we do start to think more about like risk management within crypto. We don't have that much risk management in crypto right now. Sure, you're either long or short, but you don't really have offsetting trades. You're not a wheat producer, trying to hedge the crop. You're maybe you're a Bitcoin miner and you're trying to hedge your position. We have a few of those people out there, but not many. But I think as there are more crypto businesses that have actual crypto risk, you're going to see them starting to call Chicago firms and looking for quotes in, how do we hedge, our Bitcoin exposure out the next 2-3 years? How do we manage our Ethereum risk? If we're having to pay a dividend in, some equity-linked token, you're going to see actual risk that needs to be managed, and you're going to see that come in-house at a lot of Chicago prop trading firms.
And you guys have kind of developed some of that expertise yourself. You mentioned the ATMs. You also have the Athena Investor Services, which effectively anyone can call you up, maybe looking for some expertise and trying to spread off or hedge or maybe trade one crypto against the other. So walk us through what you guys are doing on the kind of the upstairs Bitcoin market there.
Yeah, sure. So our investor services group helps a lot of what I would say high net worth individuals make Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin trades. So the typical customer, has a lot of experience trading other products, but they go into these online marketplaces and, like a Coinbase or somewhere else, and they don't get the treatment that they're looking for. Coinbase may, at its peak processes 10,000 applications for a new account a day. They have no idea who anyone is. So if you're a serious investor and actually want to put on a decent sized trade, whether that's $10,000 or $500,000, Coinbase can't distinguish between you and the person that wants to buy $50 of Bitcoin, and so they treat everyone the same. We take a different approach. We try to actually get to know our clients, get to know what's interesting to them, call them with opportunities like, Ethereum is selling off more than Bitcoin. Is this a time to maybe position yourself more into Ethereum, or is this a time to rotate out of Litecoin or what have you? And those are the types of positions we help our clients to put on and manage as a more serious investor in Bitcoin, and not just I bought $50 and hoped that it went up. But we do that as an upstairs business all day long with Athena Investor Services.
And you guys aren't carrying any, you don't have a stockpile of Bitcoin that you're looking to dump on clients or anything along those lines. You're pretty much just, whenever a client calls you up, you're kind of executing, closing out the other side and moving on to the next trade, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we have a position, we're long Bitcoin that we can sell out of. But at the same time, we're not trying to dump our position on anyone. But we do act as a principal in all those transactions.
And one of the things we hear a lot about people getting into the crypto scene for the first time, they're used to, they've grown up in this world of sub-second executions, and they used to, you hit a bid on a stock, it's filled. You hit a bid on an option, it's pretty much filled. If you have to work it a little bit, it takes a little bit longer, but effectively you're used to, if it takes a second, you're like, what is this eternity of a fill that I'm getting? And now you go to crypto and it's a completely different world, where you have to transfer from one wallet to the next. And one of the biggest pain points I've heard, I'm sure you've heard this as well, is people, they have that moment of terror where, the funds are transferred out of their wallet and they're waiting for the trade to come back and hit them. And there's kind of this moment where your trade is effectively in the ether. That could be a few minutes, it could be a few hours, depending on the product and what you're using and how liquid it is. Walk us through that. What's it been like to kind of help? Have you guys figured out a way to expedite that for clients? And is that kind of still a big pain point for private clients who want to do a little bit more size in Bitcoin? They have this, I guess you can call it this moment of terror where you don't really know what's happening with your funds?
I think everyone that uses Bitcoin goes through a moment like you just described. For our clients, we try to walk them through, how this transaction is going to happen. And we do send, we'll send a test transaction where we'll send, $50. Did you receive the $50? No. Am I nervous? Oh, now I see it. Okay, good. So now that you've received the $50, now I can send you $50,000. But we do try to walk clients through that process so they're not sent, off to their, wallet producer or wallet vendor, just hitting refresh, trying to see when their funds are going to arrive.
And do you guys manage the wallet on behalf of the clients, or is that all kind of a separate thing?
No, we help people to set up their own wallets, but we don't, maintain custody or keys. In the Bitcoin space, we always talk about like who owns a private key, and we don't want to have it lying around our office. So in case you're listening, you can't come to our office and take everyone's private keys.
Yeah, it's funny. Bitcoin has kind of become it's the bearer bonds of the 21st century. Back in the day, you'd watch all the old spy or heist movies, and the guy was on a train with $8 million in bearer bonds in a suitcase, and now it's going to be $8 billion worth of crypto in a jump drive, and you have to go get it from him. So yeah, there definitely is that physical location risk to it. Speaking of physical locations, we were talking before about kind of incentivizing the Chicago trading community. You guys have kind of done a lot of that as well. In addition to what you're doing on the investor services side, you also have started up a little bit of I guess, an arcade for crypto trading. Walk us through kind of what you guys have and how it's going so far.
Yeah, so Athena Trade has been our newest venture this year, where we've built what we call, it's a floor for crypto traders. It's a shared office space, and we now have 6 different hedge funds that are officing, with us on the 15th floor overlooking, the river and the merchandise mart. And the idea was, how can we create a community for traders of crypto? You don't have to come in and share ideas if you don't want to. But, what we found is that most people are looking for, what's a good framework for evaluating this token or that token? And about 3 o'clock every day, I would say there's a heated debate about some new ICO as to whether or not it's a complete scam or the best thing ever. And that happens sort of naturally and organically. So we have a space. It's a space for about 40 traders in total. I think we probably are halfway full right now. But it's just been a great experience just meeting, whether it's younger traders or older traders that are coming off of a traditional prop trading background, but they've discovered crypto. They're interested in investing, and we've created a space where they can run their business, but also interface with other people in the space.
I was going to ask you if you're seeing an influx of a lot of old school guys coming in, but it sounds like you have a healthy mix of the prototypical millennial crypto guy, as well as the maybe a little bit more seasoned market maker guy who wants to maybe try to dip his toes into these new, sometimes turbulent crypto waters. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, we have 19-year-olds and we have 49-year-olds, and a few in between. But it's sort of two ends of a dumbbell, and it's exciting to talk to all of them. The young guys are fascinated to know that, oh yeah, this is just like some market that someone else once traded 20 years ago when they were still in diapers. But at the same time, I think everyone comes together and brings a passion for crypto, and wants to get the trade right, wants to figure out why are markets moving, and how can we position around that.
You mentioned at the top of the show there, you guys also have this network of Bitcoin ATMs. Walk us through the mindset of what made you think, hey, we need ATMs, and then who's using these things, and what kind of use cases are you seeing? I mean, obviously, a Bitcoin it's fallen off a lot, but as we're talking, it's still about $6,000. So that's a lot to come in to an ATM for. So obviously, you're doing some sort of fractional component. So who's coming to these ATMs to pick up fractions of Bitcoin?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things I did after I bought my first Bitcoin was put my name back on the website where I had bought my first Bitcoin, which was localbitcoins.com at the time. And within a few days, someone had shown up, someone would email me and say, Eric, I'd like to buy Bitcoin. And I'm like, that sounds fantastic. Let's meet at the coffee shop or someplace. And I would sell them $300 of Bitcoin.
It's like you're doing a drug deal. Meet me in the back alley. You got a trench coat full of jump drives.
Over time, it went from, once a week to once a day. And then I was like, well, I'm no longer going to go and waste the time of buying a cup of coffee and sitting at Starbucks. Why don't I just meet you in the lobby of the Board of Trade building? So right across from Ceres, let's go meet, and we'll exchange cash for Bitcoin. And this is happening once a day. And it's a fascinating mix of people. Sure, there were technology nerds like myself that came by. And then all of a sudden there were much younger people showing up. And they were like a little bit quiet about what they were doing. And eventually I asked one of them, like, so what exactly are you doing buying $400 of Bitcoin from me? And Trayvon said, well, first of all, don't tell anyone. I was like, hold up there. Let's not start the conversation that way. Why don't you start over again? He's like, okay, well, don't tell many people. Now, this is 3.5 years ago, so I'm going to tell everyone now. What he came and told me was, we're buying hair from China. And I was like, what? I don't even know what to follow up with that on.
How do you continue that sentence?
Right, like how does that work? And so he explained that he and his mother were in a business. They sell hair extensions to beauty salons. Okay, and that I can see how that might be a business. And then he said, what we do is we used to buy them from several intermediaries, wholesalers, what have you, distributors. And instead what he figured out was that he could go and use Google Translate to deal directly with the seller in China, Indonesia, somewhere in Asia. And then he walked into BMO Harris and said, I need to wire $600 to this person in China. And BMO Harris laughed at him and said, there's no way you're doing that. You have like $2,000 in your checking account. We're not wiring 600 of it to some person in China. We cannot do the KYC on that. We cannot figure out how to do that transaction. It's no good. So he goes back to the seller in China, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, my bank won't allow me to wire money. What should I do? Now, this is 4 years ago. And the person in China was like, no, don't worry about it. Use Bitcoin. Now, 4 years ago, no one knew what Bitcoin was. But Trayvon, smart guy, goes and Googles Bitcoin, figures out that I'm a seller, emails me, and next thing you know, he's at my doorstep buying Bitcoin from me. And so what I figured out over time was that not just him, but a lot of the people that were dealing with me were interested in using Bitcoin as part of their very small business. And those businesses were in the most random products that you could possibly imagine. I had a guy who installed roofs, and then when it rained, he would distribute incense. I've had guys who buy sneakers with Bitcoin, hair extensions, T-shirts, you name it. If you can buy it from a small factory in Asia, there's some hustler in the United States that has figured out that it's a really cheap way of buying this good, importing it, and they pay for it all in Bitcoin. So when we figured that out, and we figured out why people kept showing up at the Board of Trade to buy Bitcoin from me, we said, oh, we need a better way of doing this. And so myself, a couple other guys, decided to put out our first Bitcoin ATM to serve this community better. So no longer are people taking buses and trains and Ubers into the Board of Trade, which is a lovely building, but actually not that accessible, to buy Bitcoin from me directly, where I had to ride up and down the elevator with my Bitcoin and my envelopes full of cash. Instead, let's put a machine. So we put some of our first machines, near the Board of Trade. We had one at Murphy's Bar across the street. We've had, them at other various bars like that, and we also have them, in convenience stores and out and around the city where it's convenient for people to buy Bitcoin. So that was the genesis of why do we need a Bitcoin ATM? We need a Bitcoin ATM to serve all these diverse people that are buying Bitcoin. They're not investing in it. They tend to be users of Bitcoin. They want Bitcoin today. And that's really where we've focused our efforts at Athena, is how can we serve customers who want to actually use Bitcoin to transact. People who want to use Bitcoin today is a very different market from the investor market, where people are more interested in accumulating deltas. Our ATM customers don't overlap at all. They're not interested in accumulating deltas. What they want are Bitcoin that they can spend immediately. So Bitcoin are immediate and they're permanent, and so we sell immediate and permanent Bitcoins against cash.
So you're servicing quite literally the full spectrum of Bitcoin user, from the guy who's buying a few hundred worth to buy hair out of China. I didn't expect that, all the way up to the guy who's buying $500,000, and wants to set it in some wallet, maybe ARB against Litecoin or something like that. Did you ever have a moment when you were down there in the Board of Trade, handing cash back and forth to these teenagers and stuff, saying, "What am I doing? What is my life become?" Did you ever have a moment like that, questioning your life choices?
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, the security guards at the Board of Trade were like, "I'm sorry, what is going on here? Like, do we need to call the police?" I'm like, "I'm selling Bitcoin."
You're standing there in a trench coat and sunglasses. Why wouldn't they think you look shady?
I mean, there were a few moments there where you're like, okay, now I'm going to take an elevator back up at the Board of Trade, and I'm going to go count out all of these, $5 bills that this kid has just given me, and then go back down to the bank and deposit them. And that's my life right now. And that was when I realized I need to do something else. I need to figure out a way to automate this. I originally just thought, I should just stop this. My coworkers were like, "Are you crazy? You have a burgeoning business here. You need to be in business." And I was like, "Oh, right. Don't get out of the good business, get into the good business."
And where were you advertising? Were you like on message boards saying, crypto for sale? Where were you finding these many disparate buyers for small amounts of crypto?
Yeah, no, I was on message boards. I think my LinkedIn profile may have said, "You can buy Bitcoin from me right now."
That's great. I love that. We get, as you might imagine, crypto has been a hot topic with us for some time, particularly Bitcoin. So I'm going to pass along to you a legion of the questions that I get on a regular basis, so you could have at them. The first one, as you might imagine, given our name and what we talk about all the time, everyone and their mother who listens to our shows wants to know when we're going to get Bitcoin options, and not some sort of, strange interpolated thing on some weird venue out here, but real listed Bitcoin options, maybe on the futures, maybe on something else. But you spend your day to day in this marketplace. So you come from the options background as well. What is your sense for when you think we'll finally see some real listed, options? We obviously have the futures now. When do you think we'll get that next step?
I think the regulators need to become a little bit more comfortable with the settlement process for both of the futures contracts. I think that we've gone through some good expirations so far. The markets have absorbed, expirations. There haven't been too many hiccups, although we did make a low just recently when the CME future expired. Was that related? I don't know. But I think, as soon as the regulators see several good expirations, we're going to have options listed probably at both exchanges here in Chicago. I expect both the CME and the CBOE to be moving in that direction.
Do you think that's the stumbling block? It's regulatory, it's not something else? Because it was kind of interesting to watch. They both literally raced each other out of the gate within a week or two of each other in December. And then now whenever I ask them about options, they're like, "Oh, pump the brakes. We're not ready for that yet." So it has been a very marked mindset shift at both venues. So you think that's what it is? It's a regulatory hurdle?
I think so. And I think it's regulatory and clearing. I mean, they want to make sure that, there are the right rules in place so that when the options are listed, that the clearing firms and the risk managers and the the brokerages understand the product, understand clients' needs for leverage and proper risk management, and so that they can offer these products to clients. It's not just the exchanges; it's the entire community of market makers and brokers and clearing firms that also need to be on board.
And we had Tim from the Tim McCord from the CME, who's in charge of a lot of their Bitcoin over there. He kind of gave a similar answer. He said, they need to kind of they still feel they have to do a little education in terms of the institutional side, get the market makers up to speed, get the contract specs right, and all these things. So it is kind of funny after they all raced each other out of the door for the futures, that all of a sudden now they're deciding they need to. Which is funny because the futures are actually doing pretty decent volume. In fact, as we're talking right now, I'm looking at the CME contract, which is a beefy contract. It's a 5x contract, and they have about 3,000 contracts in the front month on the tape right now. So you talk about 15x, 15,000 in terms of like coins, going up there. So interesting, they're doing, and of course, Bitcoin selling off today, off about 300 some odd handles as we're talking right now. That's kind of it. Speaking of sell-offs, the other question we're getting a lot, and I'm sure you guys have too, because you're dealing with it every day, particularly recently, all these allegations emerging of Bitcoin, that whole March 20,000 being a result of manipulation. I think it was with Tether, another cryptocurrency, that they alleged using it. The same professor who made headlines for talking about VIX manipulation, now keeping the headlines going, diving into the other hot product of Bitcoin. I'm curious, I'm sure you got this question a lot in recent weeks. What are your thoughts on these allegations of all the manipulation going on in Bitcoin back in Q4 of last year?
I don't put that much stock in all of these things. These are, I don't want to say they're incredibly deep markets, but they are pretty broad markets. And there were a lot of people that wanted to buy Bitcoin, and they were all rushing, in the same direction. I don't buy that it was, just one group pushing. We had a huge influx of buyers, with our investor services group. They were seeing buyers every day. And we also saw a huge influx in people. This is not the correct use case for our ATMs, but we did see people, especially in November and December, driving to our machine, calling us up and saying, "I need to buy $1,000 of Bitcoin. How do I do it?" And we were like, "Okay, well, you use the machine, scan your ID, put in some money," and then they would call us back and they're like, "But that gold coin thing that I saw in the picture on the internet didn't come out. Like, what happened?"
They want the actual coins.
Well, that was the headline. The headline always has those pictures of coins. So we would get a lot of calls from people that were very upset they didn't get the coin to fall out.
That's what we should do with the next iteration of the ATMs. Is you shoot out a little coin that says this can be traded in with us for X amount of Bitcoin, and then people will be excited. They actually have a Bitcoin that they can then hide under their mattress, which is what they want it for, right?
They did want to hide it under their mattress, but they were very upset. They're like, "Oh, look, you've gotten your Bitcoin, but that piece of paper you have that says paper wallet, that's worth $1,000. Don't lose that." They're like,
it's funny because I'm kind of with you on the allegations of manipulation. It makes me look at it as interesting, but it's also the notion. I mean, obviously, it's a lighter, more easily manipulated market than a big liquid thing like SPX. But the notion that kind of effectively, I think they were alleging like one entity, one client was clearly kind of really doing all this and swapping. Whenever Bitcoin would have a down day, they would swap in for Tether and buy it back up. It did seem like it was maybe outside of the reach of that one person. You obviously were playing in those markets at that time. Is that it sounds like that's your take as well, that it was even back then a still deeper, more liquid market, harder for one entity to really prop up, let alone drive it all the way up, 3x, 4x to 20,000.
Yeah, I don't think it was just one entity driving it all the way up, but I'll leave that to other people to go and investigate.
Well, Eric, we've covered a lot of ground here. You guys have a lot of interesting things going on. We covered the ground all the way from fractional Bitcoin at ATMs to buy Chinese here, all the way up to institutions to their using crypto kind of being at the heart, the nexus of this revival of the Chicago trading community, which has been an interesting thing to see, regardless of what people think about the product. I know people have different views about the underlying fundamental value of the asset. All that stuff aside, it clearly is a tradable product, at least right now, and the benefits for the trading community here have been demonstrable. So I'm looking forward to seeing those continue going forward. But that said, you guys have a lot of irons in the fire. You have the ATM, you have the arcade, you have the investor services. So give us a little hint, maybe a little tease of what our listeners can expect going forward from you guys over there at Athena. And also, if they want to learn more about any of these things, the ATM or the arcade, where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah, sure. So I think, if you're following us on Twitter, if you're following Athena Bitcoin on Twitter, at Athena Bitcoin, you'll probably see us doing quite a bit of tweeting about Colombia and Argentina. We're doing some adventuring in South America.
I thought you were going to say you could wager on World Cup with Bitcoin or something like that, but
I really shouldn't speculate on why people are buying Bitcoin right now, but the World Cup has been really good for our ATM business right now. Lots of growth right now, a lot of new customers during World Cup week. So that's been pretty good for us. And as always, you can find all the locations for our ATMs at athenabitcoin.com, including our Latin American operations. And if you're interested in becoming a client of our investor services, that is athenainvestorservices.com.
There you go, listeners. So Athena Investor Services, easy for me to say, for the private client stuff. If you want to learn more about the ATMs or the Bitcoin, AthenaBitcoin.com, or give them a follow on Twitter, at Athena Bitcoin. Well, Eric, it was great to have you on and kind of sink our teeth a little more into the world of crypto. We're getting questions about this area all day long, so I'm guessing it's not the last time you and I are going to talk, because I like having someone else to push these questions to. It's nice. So thanks for coming on. Look forward to talking more crypto with you again in the near future.
Thanks, Mark.
And that's going to do it here for Options Insider Radio, but stay tuned to the network. We'll have more shows coming your way this week really soon.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.